Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Christina Strassfield, and I'm the Executive Director of the Southampton Arts Center. On behalf of our board and staff, I'd like to welcome you. We are truly honored today to have this event to honor all of the veterans who are here. We are so thrilled to have our representative, Ann Welker, here. Congratulations. We also want to thank that we are thrilled that we have our veteran who is 100 years old, Martin. And all the veterans who are here, your service is so important to this country. I want to thank Matt and Nick for actually documenting these stories, because we only learn from the stories that we hear and from what has happened. This is so important for our history, and we are thrilled, so thrilled beyond, to be able to showcase the films and then to have the veterans come up and speak with us. And they'll be available afterwards also, just so we can all mingle together and thank them personally. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Matt to the stage.
Thank you, Christina. I want to thank the Southampton Arts Center and Christina for having us here and co-hosting this event. It's very important for Nick and I to be part of the community. This is why we started this project. We've created an online community where, honestly, millions of people watch our story every year. Last year, we had over 7 million views of our stories on our YouTube channel. And Martin Sylvester and Angelique Williams and Ed German are here. We're going to see their stories today, and you guys will get a little bit of a flavor of what we do. If there are any veterans in the audience here and would like to, after you see what we do, if you'd like to share their stories with us, please talk to us afterwards. Also, Ed has written his memoir, and those will be available in the back for sale. And Martin also has some memoirs here that are in the back. Martin's memoirs, anybody who would like to purchase one, the proceeds go to benefit USA Warrior Stories. So I want to thank you all for coming, and let's watch these films, and afterwards we're going to invite our veterans up to have a little bit of a Q&A. Thank you. So Nick and I were doing a documentary on Wounded Warrior Project, and we were doing the festival circuit, and we talked to a lot of veterans when we were doing that, as you can imagine, and we realized that we just had to keep recording stories. And Martin was the first person that we recorded, and it was sort of an eye-opening experience for Nick and I to interview somebody who had so much history. And we really found out that quickly that all our veterans, no matter what conflict they served in, or if they just served in peacetime, they all were a witness to history. And that's what we really wanted to document. And we wanted to bring you stories of 3 local veterans from different generations, so that you could really see the difference and hopefully understand a little bit about their sacrifices for us. And I'm going to start real quick with Angelique. And you know, Nick and I originally interviewed you, and we sort of thought the interview went very badly. And so we decided not to produce it, and that's one of the things we do with our veterans. If the interview, there's no obligation to the veteran to share their story. The only obligation to them is to sit down with us and talk with us. And if the story doesn't come out right, or for some reason our subject thinks that it's inappropriate what we talked about, or doesn't want to share it with the public, we decide not to. It's not, we're not in the business of taking advantage of veterans. We're in the business of hopefully helping them along their journey. And my question to you is, eventually you did come back around with the help of Beth Maleo, and we did record your story. And why did you eventually decide to talk to us?
So that interview did go badly, but it was because I realized that I hadn't healed yet. And so speaking with you guys, for me, that first time was more like a therapy session for me, but I was so grateful for it, you know? And it made me realize that I still had more work to do, And it took me, I think, a year, 2 years after that. But I put in the work for those 2 years to where I could come back, share a little bit of my story, and be able to hold my head up high and be proud of my service, regardless of my experience. And I was super grateful. I'm so grateful that you created such a welcoming. You just, there was no pressure. It was just share what you want to share. We're here, and I'm just incredibly grateful because I healed because of you guys. So I just want to say thank you.
Well, thank you for doing take two with us, because I really felt like it was a great experience for all of us. I'm going to have Nick talk a little bit about how we met Ed, and maybe a little bit about our shock when we walked into the house and he had these pornographic magazines laid out.
I already knew Ed from the radio, like many of us do, and I've always been a big fan of his voice on the radio and his great jazz selections often.
Thank you.
So I was already a fan. Brian, of course, listened to him as well. So I was told by a few people that Ed wasn't going to do interviews anymore, and I kind of took it as a bit of a challenge. We ran into him in West Hampton, and I sat down right next to him while we were waiting for this veterans music benefit that was happening. And that's when we hit him up again, and he was gracious enough to agree. And then, of course, we go set up anytime, any place you want. We'll come to you, and we showed up at his house, and yeah, right there was, I can't remember the name of the magazine, but I was a little, maybe I want to put those away. But no, they were part of the story, and actually the stories in them tell that story. So no, it was absolutely fantastic, and it's always great to see, it's actually great to see all of you, and I'm very appreciative of everybody that's here today in general. So, but it's been a real privilege to get to know everybody during the process of this. We originally were involved with something called Soldier Ride, which later became a program of the Wounded Warrior Project. And that's a great, great thing. And you get people out of the hospital or out of their homes. And I would say the majority of the people that have done those, and I'm looking at John and Joanne who will attest to that, who have been doing these rides for close to 20 years with us, or maybe longer. But the one thing that always caught me was that there are a lot of people, like, okay, so I got 2 little kids. I'm not going to make this about myself. I promised Matt I wouldn't. But it's hard to get anywhere for a night, or even a 3-day trip, or to get on an airplane if you've got a family. And then add on to that maybe PTSD or a combination of all of these things, or you're still dealing with health issues. And to go out and do something like a soldier ride is great, but there are a lot of people that you don't reach because they can't even take that first step to go through that part of the recovery. And that's part of what we were thinking with USA Warrior Stories, and it's really evolved into that, is to be able to record your story. We can come to your house, and the healing process that goes along with being able to tell your story for yourself, and also to share that with other people that might get something out of hearing a similar experience. And whether it's Martin, who's talking about stuff from 80 years ago, or people that are coming home 8 months ago. So it's been an honor to be part of all that. And when people thank us for any of that, I say, listen, 20 years of riding bicycles with veterans, and from Miami to Key West or through the Hamptons or doing these interviews is really just a privilege, and no one should ever thank us. It's not one day overseas. So that's my gut feeling on it. So thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
And Ed, I want to ask you, so you had told Nick and I multiple times, you said, everybody knows my story, nobody wants to hear it again. Mm-hmm. And then eventually you did, grace us with, coming to your house and telling us you're spending the afternoon with you and sharing your story. What was that experience like? Did you get feedback from the community? Was there anything like that?
You mean about the story that you guys did on me? Well, I've seen a lot of feedback over the years, and online, on social media. A lot of people that I've never even met have sent me emails and stuff that they've read my story. And the reason that I do these things, or still do, is mostly to pay tribute to those men that I served with who are not here to tell the story. I was telling some folks earlier that I ran across a VA statistic about 10 years ago, and it indicated that only 1/3, this is 10 years ago, only 1/3 of the men who went to Vietnam are still living now. And that was 10 years ago. And I had a reunion in 2012 with two guys that were in my squad, and we hadn't seen each other since 1969. George Spivey from Houston and Douglas Holland from Delaware. Anyway, we got together in Florida in 2012, the three of us from Bravo 14. And now those two guys, they died, they're gone. So it's an example of I'm part of the 1/3, as is Colonel Bob Grisnick, who's here in the audience. We're part of the 1/3, and it's probably even less, that are living today. I wear this particular uniform with the white gloves because it's a ceremony of honor. And when I wrote my book, Deep Down in Brooklyn, I also wrote it because of the people that are in the story who are not here to tell the story. And so this uniform that I'm wearing today, I wore it specifically because it's a vintage Marine Corps uniform that you don't see any Marines wearing anymore, because they discontinued manufacturing it in 1974. But this is the uniform that we were issued for tropical service in the South Pacific in 1968. And Martin and his comrades, they also wore this kind of tropical service. I saw your photograph with this Army tropical service uniform on. So that's why I wore it, to pay tribute to so many men. And now my best friend Mickey, I don't want to take up too much time because it's not in the film, but my best friend Mickey, whom you saw, he was wounded in the head at an ammo dump explosion. He served with the 9th Marines, the Walking Dead. He served with Charlie Company 19. He was wounded in the head in March of 1969, and he was murdered in Brooklyn in 1974. My best friend Mickey. Thank you.
One of the things we try to do with this project is honor those who didn't make it home, or talk about, things that are hard to talk about sometimes, like PTSD and suicide awareness. Actually, this morning, our latest story is actually about suicide awareness, and those things, sort of come to us, these stories, and we have producers around the country that help us produce these things. And so thank you for that, for remembering Mickey.
Yes.
I'm going to jump to Paul for a second. And so as you can see in Martin's film, we've actually interviewed Martin multiple times. And it's a good thing that Buddy's here. He can lick up the water later. But one of the things, most recently, Paul and Martin went to the 80th anniversary of D-Day. Martin landed D-Day +1. It was great because we got to meet them in Normandy and spend a little time with them. Nick and I were there working on another project, but we took the time to spend a little time with Paul and Martin. And I wanted to ask you, Paul, what it means to your family for this documentation that we've done with you and your dad over the years.
Well, I think my family is happy that it's been done and can be documented, but I think it's something that can be handed down. I have nephews and nieces, and I have nephews and nieces now who are obviously way too young to understand any of this. But in years to come, they'll be able to look at it and see it, and it'll be part of the history, and it'll be a first-hand accounts of the history, which a lot of them are being lost. And that's kind of how I got involved in this in the first place. Was about 25 years ago. I saw an ad in the East Hampton Star that said that they were losing 5,000 men a day that had served in World War II, and were looking for stories, because all these stories, and there were a lot of them, they were being all lost. So I knew my dad had been captured and was in the war, and he had been shot and captured and escaped. But other than that, I really didn't know much about what he did. And I showed him the ad, and I said, yeah, Dad, you know, they're looking for guys to do stories because they're losing the history. And he called up, it was the New York State Museum, and they interviewed him. It was supposed to be like a 15-minute interview, and the guy was so fascinated with the story, he interviewed him for like an hour. Anyway, some certain memories came back, and he then started writing a memoir. And then about 10 years ago, Nick and Matt did a screening of their Soldier Ride film at the Amagansett Square. And we really liked it, and I gave Nick a copy of my dad's memoir. And he called me up not too long after that and said, you know, we're doing this new project, USA Warrior Stories, and would you think your dad would do an interview? So I said, yeah, I think he probably would. And so he did, and it was the start of a very warm friendship over the last 10 years, and I feel honored to be a part of it. I never, you know, looked to be a part of it, getting involved with Veterans Affairs, but it kind of fell on my lap, and I'm honored to support and help USA Warrior Stories wherever I can. And the trip to France was just an amazing experience, and I just have a very deep connection now with our history, and feel like that it should be shared so that everybody knows what our veterans do. I'm not a veteran, I've never served, and when Ed, in his story, said when he came home, nobody ever asked him about it, about what he did or what happened, you know, that struck a chord with me. Because these stories should be shared as much as they could be so that people know the sacrifices that are made so that we can live this wonderful life that we do.
And before we open it up to the audience, if anybody has any questions, and please, we have a mic, so we'd like to record your questions. I'm just going to say real quick that there's a scene in Martin's film where he talks about being put up and thinking he was going to be shot in a firing squad, and we almost didn't record that. So it taught us a valuable lesson. You know, Martin took us into his office in the back, and he was still talking, and we were taking the mic off him and doing this. And actually, I think we took the mic off him already. And he starts telling us this incredible story, and we're like, okay, you got to stop. And sort of we pulled all the camera equipment out and shot all that handheld. And it really, you know, we always joke that that's the reason why we haven't stopped filming, is because of Martin. So it's all because of you, Martin. It's all because of you. And also, just so everyone knows, Angelique has some of her artwork in the back. So on your way out, please take a look at that. And I know you have Instagram and you know, and other places where we can see your art, correct? And both Ed and Martin have their memoirs in the back. So please take a look on your way out. Also, we are a non-for-profit. USA Warrior Stories is a non-for-profit. This is our first real sort of public thing that we've done, and we really thank all of you for being here. It was mostly an online thing, so we're hoping to do more events like this, and please, you know, let us know what the feedback is very important to Nick and I. So, does anybody have any questions for us or any of our veterans?
Thank you. Hi, Angelique. Are those self-portraits of yours?
Wow. So I use, a lot of my portraits are of my eyes. A lot of my portraits I either black the eyes out or kind of scribble over them, or maybe just because there were times where I just didn't feel seen, and so, but yeah, those are, some of them are of me.
And can I follow up with one more? And Buck, those paintings in your, I guess that was your house, where
Yes,
did you paint those?
Yes, I did. I'm a portrait artist as well, yes.
So the two of you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anyone else? I mean, come on, who's ever had a chance to ask a question to a 100-year-old veteran?
I was saying, thank you for your service and welcome home. I enjoyed looking at the videos of each of you guys, Angelique, Ed, and Martin.
And thank you for
Great.
your service.
You're welcome. So, I think that the USA Warrior Stories is very important because I had done my interview with them before COVID. And I think veteran stories are so important, and it's also educational. And I like it that they incorporated like various veteran organizations, which when I watch it on USA Warrior Stories, some of the stuff I don't know, so it's educational for me. And I like to spread the word to other veterans of sharing your story because it's so important.
Well, thank you, actually, because you've made a ton of introductions across throughout the New York area. So
Yes.
you've been with us going back a long time, and that's
Yeah,
appreciated.
yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and again, thank all of you for your service. This audience is of a certain age. There's another audience that knows nothing, almost nothing about the wars, about the tribulations, about the problems we have in our country. And part of it is because they never learned the history. And our schools have had an terrible failure at providing that history. And I was wondering, is there anything that you're able to do, with this wonderful project you've worked on that would be appropriate for those people who need to hear about this, who need to understand it, understand that they don't stand alone with whatever successes they have, but they stand on the shoulders of people like these in front of us.
I can give that a beginning answer, at least. Yes, I completely agree with you. I'm happy that everyone's here. At the same time, yes, there's a younger generation that we'd like to reach. Part of it I attribute to people being disengaged. It's screen time about frivolous things. Even my own children complain about nothing to watch on TV. And I'm like, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11. We all know what that means, unless you're under 30, and then it's 1 to 1,000. You're still complaining. The attention span's very short. One of the things that we're doing now is with our YouTube channel, which has really taken off, and mainly towards the Vietnam section of viewership, and the age group that is similar to it that is watching that. But one of the things we're getting involved now is sort of the shorter clips, and one of them last year went quasi-viral and got over 8 million views about Jackson Smith, who lives in New Orleans and is working with a brain injury project down there called...
It's called Bastion.
Bastion.
Traumatic brain injury,
Right, and
living
he was a
space.
great speaker, and we took a clip of his talking about when he got blown up and turned that into like a 2-minute piece, and that's all of a sudden got over 7-8 million views. About 10 million people saw that. And so, yeah, we've got to try and find new ways, and that's one of the things that by outreach and that we're working on currently now is to try and reach that younger audience so that they can understand what's really going on.
And most recently, our YouTube channel has been approved for educational use, so which means that in high schools and universities, in the classroom, they have a specialized YouTube thing. So not the kids in high school aren't accessed to everything on YouTube. It's only stuff that's been pre-approved for educational reasons. And our project is one of those projects that's one of many that has been pre-approved for educational reasons. So every story that we submit it through YouTube, and you have to go through another submission process in order for that story to be deemed educational. And I'm very happy about our percentage. It's something like 40 or 50% of our stories have been deemed educational for a wide audience, which means they can be shown in high schools and universities and stuff like that. So thank you for that question, sir.
Matt? Yeah. Say something. I just wanted to say that in this trip that we took last year, the 80th anniversary of D-Day, there was a gentleman by the name of Tom Gibbs, who was on our bus, and he worked for 12 years at the World War II Museum in New Orleans, and he now works for Gary Sinise Foundation. And he was like, it was having like a history professor. He knew everything about World War II. And I asked him, like, you know, how many people fought in World War II? So he told me 10 million drafted, 6 million enlisted. I said, how many are left? He said about 80,000. And that was almost a year and a half ago. I know we had 65 vets. The average age was 101 on the trip, and lost at least a dozen of those that I know of so far. So anyway, Tom Gibbs went to Gary Sinise Foundation. They do some wonderful work bringing high school students into the class, down to the 9/11 memorial, and bring veterans into and a bunch of educational programs. And if anybody would like to see about our return trip, Matt and I produced a film on it. It's a 45-minute film. If you Google my father's name, Martin Sylvester, you'll see the film that we just saw, but you'll also see Martin Returns to Normandy. It's an interesting film on the trip that we took, an 11-day trip. And I came back with about 6 hours of content, and we narrowed it down to 45 minutes, and I think it came out pretty good, huh?
It came out great. And, you know,
So check it out. It's on YouTube public.
Paul did a great job. He shot the whole trip on his iPhone, and I told him to just don't turn it off, like we learned from his dad. Don't ever turn the camera off.
But the point is, to like Ed was saying about the Vietnam vets, only a third left. History is turning over now. So to your point about the next generation knowing about this is kind of what it's all about. And there are other people doing stuff out there. It's not as easily, you know, seen as some of the things when you turn on the TV, but things are happening, and anybody that can donate time or be a little part of it is always a great thing, because now with AI, if we don't keep this the history the way it really was, who knows what they're going to be telling us would happen in another 20 years. But anyway, thank you all for being here. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Sure is. Thank you.
I just wanted to thank you and say that all of my friends whose fathers fought in the war, and my husband's the same, all of them said they never talked about it, ever. And it's interesting, Ed, because we didn't ask them either. Yeah. So this has been incredibly moving. I know that there's a trunk full of letters from Sicily down in our basement here that my husband's father wrote to his wife, and we haven't opened it. So I think tonight, when I get home, we'll go downstairs.
Thank you.
And Martin. What has your experience been showing your story to audiences?
What has your experience been showing this film to audiences? What is your experience?
Oh, I'm very pleased to know that people are still interested in World War II. It's been so long ago, and many things are being forgotten. And I personally think that we should hold on to and remember things that affected everybody in the country and affected our future. So that my own feeling is that it's one of gratitude that all of you people are here and you people are interested in this kind of thing.
This is sort of a personal comment. I'm one of the 1/3 Vietnam veterans who are still alive.
Wow, thank you.
Well, I relate, Ed, to you. I arrived in Vietnam about the same time you did. I was known as an REMF, Rear Echelon Mother.
Yeah. Okay.
You remember us?
Yes.
I was involved in combat support.
Yeah, I would have loved to be there. You know, and I was a musician, you know, and when I first arrived at Camp Pendleton for staging battalion to go to Vietnam, when I first arrived at Camp Pendleton, I was still 17 years old. And I had music experience, and so before I went to Vietnam, I was with the 5th Marine Division Band in Camp Pendleton for like 3 months. And then I turned 18, and then I got orders to Vietnam. So when I got to Vietnam, the first thing I did was, I said, is there a band here? And they said, yeah, this is the 1st Marine Division Band down in Da Nang. And I went over there one day. I said, can I? I said, I'm a snare drummer. It's it's a part of my MOS. It's 5563. I'm an 0331, but I'm also a snare drummer. They said, no, you're gonna go to the bush. But yeah.
I also, Angelique, this is for you, because when I served in Vietnam, my first sergeant was a woman who ended up being a sergeant major, second highest ranking in the Army. When she retired, the person I reported to was a major and a woman, and she had served at the end of World War II in Korea and then in Vietnam. And I got to know a number of the women who were nurses. What I'm saying, there was the women who served in Vietnam, there weren't that many, but they were tremendous. And I just love the fact what you're doing, because women are so important in the services these days. So,
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hi. You mentioned about the woman in Vietnam. I would just like to remind everybody that on Veterans Day, Tuesday, at 11 a.m. here in Agawam Park, we are having our Veterans Day services, and our guest speaker is a woman nurse from Vietnam.
Thank you, Bob.
And what's her name?
I don't have her name. Do you know, Bill? I don't know her name. What's her name, Susan?
We've interviewed Joan. She's in our archive, and my wife actually helped me with that interview, and it's incredible. It's one of our most watched shows because there's not a lot known about nurses who served in Vietnam, and it's really been a privilege to know Joan and as all of you, but to share these stories. So, thank you all so much for coming. Oh, we have one more question? 2 more questions, okay.
Actually, I want to thank you all so sincerely. In my family, we've been very proud of the military service, starting with the American Revolution. And my father and my uncle Edwin suffered so much during World War II. When Dad came home, my mother couldn't stand the stories, but I couldn't get enough of them. And we did the dishes side by side. Every night he told me another one. It had maintained my American pride. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
I'm a Vietnam veteran also, and I served about the time Ed was there, but I was a little south, just south of Chulai. And I'd like to echo about the women in the military in Vietnam, and that includes the donut dollies. But I went to one of the medical hospitals to visit one of my guys that was badly injured when the fire base got overrun. And what the ladies go through there was incredible. And I don't think we ever gave them enough credit for what they did. They never got to see the end of the story. They never got to see the recovery. They only got to see the damage. And that's really hard. And Angelique, I did poetry to get in touch with my PTSD. And I appreciate what you did.
Thank you.
That's it for now.
I want to thank you all because I think this was the most moving panel that I've ever been to here at the Southampton Arts Center. So thank you so much for your service and for all that you've done. I realize that there are a number of veterans here in the audience, and what I would love to do is to have them come to sit on the end of the stage so we can take a photograph of all of you together. So if you would please do that, that would be wonderful. Thank you so much. Could we ask the veterans to come to the front, please? I would love to have you all come. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Christina.
Martin and I, we both lived in Crown Heights. I used to live in Crown Heights.
This is a photograph, you can all talk, you know.
You're allowed to actually have fun.
Thank you so much.
Yes.